Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session where we're going to have this fascinating conversation on social commerce and how one company has redefined the concept of social commerce in India and become extremely successful. One more big round of applause to welcome our star speaker for today, Sourjyendu Medda, co-founder, Chief Commercial Officer, DealShare. Welcome, Medda. We have a big 45-minute timer left sign over there, so we'll keep looking at that. Firstly, very glad to be doing a 3:30 session and not a 1:30 session, right? So people will hopefully stay awake. It's not immediately after lunch, right? I'm going to be asking him a few questions, but would really love it if a lot of you participate in the conversation as well. We'll leave ample time for questions for all of you, right? Can we have the door shut, please, if that's okay? It's too much conversation from that side. Okay. Anyway, let's get started. Let's begin logically at the beginning. 4 years back, you, your school friend, your business acquaintance, you all came together and decided to start this. After many years of solid industry work-ex in various places, what was the trigger to start this? And most interestingly, you started in a city where people really, it isn't really known for many companies starting up from there, Jaipur. People go to Jaipur to pretty much holiday. Right? How did this come to be?
Effectively, if you look at my experiences, I had deep experiences on the retail and FMCG space. I had worked with big brands like Britannia, Raymond's, and Metro Cash and Carry. And so my school time friend he's from tech background, spent 10 years with Microsoft US. So all of us basically were coming from the corporate background, and the third co-founder also is coming from basically very large organizations, right? So while we were on the corporate side of the business or doing corporate roles, we were always looking at what is the big opportunity that is untapped in the country. So when we came together, actually it just happened. We were just meeting together as friends and then discussing various large opportunities that are going to come in the country. And we realized that with the mobile wave that Jio had basically started, let's say 1.5 years before we started up, or that is when it became massified. Essentially, the mass of the country got connected through some means. So while you can talk about road infrastructure not being present like the Western countries or whatever, but then this whole social network connection started happening. That is where people could basically exchange messages with each other, or thoughts, or the knowledge sharing started happening. At the same time, we also realized through obviously our own experiences on the retail and FMCG side that the organization of Indian retail, which is the largest, let's say, commerce property that can be created on top of a network that is getting created, where real transactions would happen. I mean, till that time, you would see a lot of content happening or just sharing happening on WhatsApp and all of that. So people were already adept on using the social network or chatting platforms and all of that. But commerce was not really happening. And we believe that the real impact, commercial impact, would be when retail gets organized in a large scale. So till now, we have seen modern trade for the last 30 years, e-commerce for the last 10, 12 years. But all of that has remained on the upwardly mobile population of the country, specific to large cities and all. Right. So we saw this as a huge opportunity where we can basically organize retail riding on the social network platforms that were getting created.
Interesting. So that the timing of the whole mobility boom kind of was one of the key triggers clearly to do this. So also tell us about the choice of market to get started, Jaipur.
So essentially, if you look down at 2018, most of the modern trade and e-commerce was in the metros and the top, let's say top 5, 6 cities,
7 cities,
largely 90% of the business. I was a part of the same journey. So we believe that if we have to create a market which is basically pan-India, catering to all tiers of cities and towns, we should arrive at a cusp, which is neither a metro nor because you really need a mass to start and prove that point, right? So, and at the same time, Jaipur was also right at the cusp. It is the 10th largest city and not really a metro. And the saving consciousness is also very important, because that is what the affordability is what we were tackling. So we knew that Rajasthan population is a lot saving conscious. So we said that we'll go there. And at the same time, there's this social thread. So like family bonding and all of that works well. Obviously, we were from Jaipur. Me and Vineet, my co-founder, were from Jaipur. So that gave us an additional advantage of knowing the social thread and the connections there.
Right, right. So I want to just, for the audience, I want to just give some numbers over here. So BCG says India's retail industry will be $800 billion, right? And organized players today have 8 to 10% share there. The purely online players have sub 1% share. What is very interesting in this is grocery, which is the online grocery market itself is expected to reach $27 billion from $4 billion today. So a CAGR of 33%. And the e-commerce market overall is expected to reach $111 billion, right? So these are just some high level numbers. So grocery in retail, grocery retail obviously has been like a big chunk, but at the same time, it's not a space that very many people have managed to crack really well, right? We've seen people burn their hands. We've seen people enter and exit the space. What was the thinking of the founding team to narrow down on this?
So we basically believe that wherever the problem is hard, there the largest value creation basically lies there. So, and it is very clear by what you said that people have entered or stayed away and entered, exited, whatever. So it was very clear that it's a large untapped potential, but a hard problem to crack. So that obviously was the reason why we wanted to get there, because we wanted to create a lot of value, not just for us, for the organization, but also for the country, because it touches every family, everybody's lives. We believe that a right model which can organize the mass of India on their major consumption category, which is grocery and essentials, which is like 60-70% of their consumption, would essentially create the biggest retail organization in the country and maybe in the world, because the large population is here. So that is why that triggered. Obviously, our experiences also helped us, because we had years of experience on this field. Specifically, I'm coming from that field only. So a combination of this triggered this whole thought.
Great, great. So this mobility being a big driver, accelerator of consumption of mobile in India, the experience that y'all had, the fact that grocery was a hard nut to crack, and therefore you can create value in that, was a very interesting approach to get into this market. Now it is at approximately the same time that the whole concept of social commerce started becoming really popular across the world. A couple of Chinese firms had done it really well and so on. So when you entered the market, you decided to approach it from this whole social commerce perspective. So perhaps just for the benefit of everyone here, what is social commerce? How is it very different from conventional e-commerce as we know it? And how does one think about or approach the whole social commerce angle?
I think the primary difference is in the way you basically generate your traffic and re-traffic or reordering here. So classical e-commerce basically is dependent on performance marketing or classical modes of marketing, where you're bringing consumers or asking them to repurchase through classical modes of above-the-line communication, below-the-line communication of Facebook ads and Google ads. Now, social commerce essentially taps into the network of your consumers, and through word of mouth or through some micro incentives that your consumers buy, which they can again use for repurchases, you are getting a huge base of customers at very low cost of customer acquisition or reacquisition. So that is essentially a much better model to massify e-commerce in any country. So I think that is the time when Chinese companies and some of the Western companies started doing well. We are amongst the pioneers of social commerce in India today. In the grocery and essential space, we are the only one who are doing social commerce.
Right. So what it also does is kind of creates this circle of trust, so to say, right? Because I am recommending it, so I will also be recommending things which I feel are good, and the network that I have kind of believes what I say, and so on and so forth. So the key is really this low cost of customer acquisition and potentially higher. Do you see that the repeat rates and the loyalty rates are much higher in the social commerce model?
So it is not just low cost of customer acquisition, it is also a viral model. So basically, since you are getting to network, so one person liking DealShare would talk to 100 people, and you can assume that safely 10, 15, 20 people would come. So it also expands faster. So that's the other benefit. And the loyalty factors are also high. Now, if you go to a middle income family or a lower income family, they would tend to trust their family members or friends more than, let's say, a celebrity endorsement, because that they don't trust. And on top of that, we are also selling high quality, low price articles across this range of grocery and essentials, which might not be top brands. So it is not even endorsed. So you need somebody from your family or friend network to really tell that this is a good product. And hence the trust on the platform basically supersedes all the products that are on the platform. So that is how we operate.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I want to, of course, talk to you about the business model with a little bit detail, but you spoke about this virality and numbers really accelerating. Give us a sense from when you started, you know, some milestones of how these numbers really picked on.
I guess I'll briefly touch upon that because there are a lot of milestones there. So I think it's just 3.5 years now. And we started with Jaipur. For the first 10 months, we were only in the city of Jaipur. So that was the only city because we wanted to get some sense of how there was no predecessor. So we had to get some sense of how the business should operate. But today we are now in 10 states, 150 cities and towns, all tiers of cities and towns, starting from metro to even towns with 20,000 odd population. And we have an ever installed base of more than 2 crore customers.
Wow. Okay.
And around more than 20 lakh customers buy every month. And their frequencies would be like almost 4 a month. So that is the kind of scale that we have achieved very fast because of this whole social network.
Fantastic, fantastic. I mean, these are not numbers that, you normally hear. And these are numbers which are very, very difficult to acquire and sustain. And this whole ability to keep generating repeat business, I think is pretty massive. So tell us about, you touched upon one interesting thing here, which is that of these 20 lakh customers who are buying every month, they buy typically like 3-4 times a month. That seems to be substantively different from the larger e-commerce plays that you think about, where it's typically 1 transaction a month at best, even if you're going back there. Apart from this, what other behavioral trends or changes do you see in your target segment?
So I'll talk about the business model, why this is happening in DealShare and not other platforms. So when we started social commerce in India, it was at the back of basically some of the global social commerce companies really doing well. Pinduoduo of China became a large valued company publicly, and that inspired a lot of people to start social commerce in India. If I remember correctly, in 2018, late of 2018, when we started, there were at least 8 companies who started on social commerce model.
In India?
In India itself.
Okay.
Now, all 7 of them were going behind low frequency, low relevance categories like fashion, for the mass market, like fashion or electronics, or what has basically been the e-commerce play in the country. They just, and also what they saw was what is happening in China or the Western world, that most of this model were.
These were the categories that were working.
That were doing well.
Yeah.
We clearly said that social commerce can do well only when it is a highly relevant category for the country, with a lot of relevance for the mass population and also some frequency of purchase. So we were the only ones who chose the path of grocery and essentials, while everybody else chose the other path. And we also studied deeply what Pinduoduo had done in its initial years. So initial years, they started with fruits and all these high frequency categories.
Right.
And see, their per capita income is very high in those countries. So their discretionary spends are also high, and mass population also buys these categories. In India, first you have to solve for grocery and essentials because that's the main consumption. So we differentiated from day one. A lot of people said that it is not going to work. It's hard. We said we'll still stay there. And everybody else actually, as we see, are
any of the other 7 companies surviving today?
Not the ones, I mean, in different forms or other, but not,
right, but not really true to the, not at scale, true to the social model that y'all had thought of, right? So, the social commerce piece, in some sense, is the demand generation side of the business, right? But one of the challenges of grocery or any e-commerce retail, for that matter, has been the other pieces, which is delivery, which is timely delivery. Making sure that there are no damages in transit, the cost of delivery, how do you solve for that last mile, and so on. You seem to have substantively innovated on that. So please take us through that.
Yeah. So since we entered into grocery and essential space, we knew that the gross margins will not be humongous at any point in time. This is a category where you have to solve for affordability and not make margins from the consumers. And so we looked at worldwide inspirations on first solving the fulfillment cost with efficiency being built in. So, I mean, DMart is the best example of physical retail, which operates at 7-8% of let's say, cost of operations. Then we had Costco also, which operates at around 10-11%. These are like the topmost in the world. We said that to crack a mass market, And that is, if you look at whether it is Amazon or Costco or Walmart or DMart, all of them first have cracked the operations of fulfillment model. Now, they are experts in their countries to create this. On top of that, you create a supply and a consumer base, but this is the base that you have to solve. So we differentiated again, and that is the area where we innovated the most. We created basically what we call a DealShare Those program, which is a network of community leaders who do deliveries for their localities. They understand the locality well. They are so it's not our own.
These guys are already doing deliveries of other things.
No. So these are like different. I mean, they're entrepreneurs who are either like logistics players or distributors or like small-time contractors or whatever.
Okay.
But they can manage manpower very efficiently. They belong to the locality. They have some influence in their locality, and they understand the locality, geography, or the whole network of roads and houses very well. So effectively, they can do your fulfillment in a much more efficient manner than running a direct fleet, which doesn't even know the locality or the city. So we created this whole program. In the larger cities, the DealShare Those actually do our deliveries. In smaller cities, which is less than 5 lakh population, which is like 75% of our city, there the warehousing and deliveries both are managed by DealShare Those. So that again is more of community building, because he or she is basically representing DealShare in the city and developing the business there without any additional money. So it is that delivery money that they get, but because they want to massify their business, they are also promoting the business there, and it becomes much more scalable and addressable faster.
And therefore your deliveries also are like batched up and aggregated, and you make sure that from your warehouses, when product goes to DealShare Those, you kind of optimize routing and so on.
So again, so this is a part of that innovation. So I just forgot to mention that we are doing whole of fulfillment, which is warehousing as well as last mile, put together at 7 to 8%, which is like a global standard. Like Walmart is a global standard on the physical retail space. Now, the other part which you have touched upon very, and I'm very impressed by that you understand our business model almost like I do, because you know the nuances so well. So we basically, what we do is like, if you are a DealShare Those, we would aggregate all your orders at SQ level and not at order level. So we will give you the whole batch together and give you the order sheet. Now you are closer to the customer locations, you are disintegrating the orders, and that reduces the whole damage or whatever, or all other associated cost. The closer you are to the customer location when you are disintegrating these orders, it is better from a cost efficiency perspective.
Right. And yet the solution is not to just keep opening dark stores on every lane and stock up there and deliver directly yourself, right?
So out of the 150 cities that we cover, interestingly, we have our own warehouses only in 16 cities.
Right.
Rest all is managed by these.
That is super impressive. That is really, really impressive. Right. Want to take off from there on one of the points you mentioned, which is SKUs, right? One of the other things you all have really innovated on and made a differentiation to is, instead of having these thousands and thousands of SKUs as available, choices and inventory, you seem to have run it on a very tight ship there. 600, 700 SKUs, I believe, is the overall, let's say 1,000, right? As compared to, give us a comparison, like let's say
crores and crores of products
on the platform, right? Yeah, I mean, how does that work out?
So, two principles that we applied here. One is on what is highly relevant for majority of the households, because see, social commerce actually depends on sharing. Like if I like some deal, I will share with my friends and family members, and they will also buy. When you like a deal on a highly relevant article like Atta, or even let's say innerwear, which is very commonly used, you will share with your friends and family members, knowing that they will benefit if they buy. But if you do that on something which is selection based, like earrings or let's say polka dot t-shirts or whatever, you will not share. You will buy, but you will not share. And hence you are not generating traffic and re-traffic into the same basically deal that we are doing. So that is why we kept it very sharp, only fast moving SKUs which are highly relevant and are shareable as deals. Second, it also leads to a very efficient operations model, because most of the cost that have gotten into this building of this whole infrastructure is into warehousing. It is not really the last mile. On last mile, we densify and reduce costs, but then warehousing we do very, very frugally and efficiently. And a prime component is the less number of SKUs that we keep, because that reduces the complexity altogether.
Absolutely. So complexity, cost, efficiency, the retargeting, resharing ability, all of it kind of.
Just to add to that, if you look at a middle income household, 90% of their consumption is satisfied by 1,000 SKUs. So we are catering to all their needs except for the one-time needs.
Right.
But we are not giving multiple choices where it doesn't matter.
Right.
We curate. So we call us a curated assortment, whereas the others are calling selection. So it is a different thesis altogether.
Right. So you have a rough understanding that the household will buy a 500-gram pack of tea. So that's what you'll keep, not necessarily the 100, 200, 500, 1 kilo, 2 kilo, all of it.
Largest selling pack.
Right.
And on the largest selling pack, we will give them a saving on that quality, which nobody else can give.
Right.
And then we demand aggregate, and we give the aggregated demand to the supplier. So it's beneficial for the suppliers.
Right. But you have also very effectively broken this myth that, I mean, all of us here, I think I can speak for the entire crowd, is all like, urban tier 1 city population who swears by brands. We will buy only, our households will buy a certain brand of atta, a certain brand of rice, a certain brand of sugar, we'll buy some organic high-end brand, whatever, but we will buy only branded stuff. But you have kind of completely gone away from that model with this insight that a large part of India, places much less value on the brand and places more value on value, if I can say that. So tell us about that.
I think all of us sitting here would be definitely in the top 5% of India, if not in the top 1%. That is where the brand plays actually. So all the brands thrive on upwardly mobile, high-income population. And if you look at even the FMCG space, now in FMCG space, most of you would have heard of a Nielsen audit that happens. Now, Nielsen audit covers only $50 billion of business, which is still covers your local brands as well, at least the sizable local brands. The market is huge. So if you look at the branded play by some other numbers also, in the essential grocery, FMCG essential space, you will see only 15 to 20% coming out of top brands. Rest is all either local brands, unbranded, not known brands, good quality products most of the times. What we do is we choose the high quality out of them and make them brands through our platform, and they can fight.
So they get some kind of DealShare certified, DealShare assured type, seal certification.
So essentially, because we are handling very small set of SKUs, like I said, we offer 1,000 SKUs. Our team can do all the quality checks that are required, do all the tests, and then launch it.
Okay.
If I'm running crores and crores of products,
obviously you can't do it for everything.
So quality issues don't come because we curate the whole assortment. We only provide where we are 100% sure that it is the right quality by price equation, and then that flourishes. That particular SKU or the brand flourishes on the platform. In the consumer's mind, DealShare is the brand.
Right.
Now, whatever is being provided there is a trust factor that gets associated.
Right. I want to come to that because that touches upon this whole private label, concept. But before that, so these local brands, these non-brand brands, if you want to call them that, how do you source them? You go directly to a local atta manufacturer who's delivered a certain quality, who's known in the community, and then you go to him and then directly procure?
So if you look at and this has been our philosophy from day one, even when we were very small. We said that we are starting small. If we go to a top brand, we will not get the best terms of trade because the volumes don't make sense. And hence will not be able to pass a large benefit to the consumers if we don't burn our own money. And that was never the thesis, right? So we said that there are so many manufacturers which are available across the length and breadth of the country. And we should create this network. There was nobody doing that. So we are still the pioneers and the only ones who are actually aggregating these SMEs in the grocery and essential space. We go to the manufacturers, we study their local market. Some of them are operating only in, let's say, one city, but in the city, they are well known for their quality. So they don't know how to sell or market their products. They know how to do good manufacturing. So we talk with them, we see whether they can increase the capacities. First, we make them brands in the state. And a lot of them, we have now made national brands as well.
Wow.
Selling on our platforms across the states.
So it's not just commerce. It's like you're actually fulfilling people's aspirations, creating some societal impact, and so on and so forth. One of the things in this long topic that we have here today talks about launching private labels. So you said it just a little bit earlier that these brands effectively become DealShare brands, right? It's DealShare that the customer is trusting. How does a play like yours kind of reconcile this whole private label versus, you still have a branded portfolio, obviously, that is there. Is there a creep anxiety by the branded players? Is there a thinking or a worry that identities will go because it'll all be subsumed into DealShare? How does it work out?
I believe, and I've been speaking to most of these top brand senior management people as well. I think the branded play focuses more on premiumization of consumption. So essentially, I was buying some 50 rupees, let's say per kg detergent powder. The branded play is that someday it will come to 60, someday it will come to 70 and all. Now that play today might be 15-20%. It will every year change by 1%, increase by 1%. So there is an evolution that is going to happen at some pace. Now, all of these top brands are actually focusing on capturing a portion of premiumization that is happening, which will increase. What we are focused on is the remaining 80%. Even if it becomes 79%, 78%, doesn't matter.
It's still large.
This huge portion.
Yeah.
And that portion actually needs affordability, nothing else. They want a right quality product at the best possible prices. And I think private labels and the whole local manufacturing network, it is all coming together. Some of these local manufacturers will only become our private labels. Some will go direct to contract manufacturers for top brands. And I think that is the final solution to this supply. If you ask me, in a full-blown model where we are mature as a business, maybe 50% of our business would happen through private labels.
Right. And therefore, I mean, it segues into my next question. How much marketing? You know, does this private label brand need to be built outside the platform experience at all?
No. So like I said, we don't spend on marketing. So if you look at our 3.5 years of history, we'd have spent less than 1% on marketing.
You're a very strange unicorn company. Everybody raises money to spend it on marketing.
Yeah. So this is favorite between us founders, that every time a round is raised, you will see either an Amitabh Bachchan ad or an Abhishek, or let's say a Akshay Kumar ad from most of the unicorns.
Yes, what will all the stars do if you all don't spend the money?
So they have a lot of ways to earn. I don't think they're dependent on companies like us. We don't believe that that is the best ROI model of marketing. We believe that bringing consumers would still remain the mainstay in our model, and will continue to make it even more efficient, more viral. And again, these brands will ride on that wave of social.
Right.
So whatever we launch, they will get promoted by consumers only because it's high quality.
Right.
Quality is not getting. If you compromise on quality, then everything.
Of course.
We can't compromise on quality and give the best savings.
So what you're saying is, instead of spending like the traditional ATL marketing money, you know, print, radio, TV, outdoors, whatever, most of that, if not all of that, is just being channelized back into the system to just create better quality products and reward consumers more for the forward sharing they'll do.
Ultimately, when you do a celebrity advertisement or you spend on massive campaigns, IPL or whatever, what happens is that money comes from consumer pockets. Now, a consumer who is basically fighting for affordability and more goods in the houses, why should he or she spend on advertisements money which the brand is trying to spend, right? So that's not right in our model. Someday we become very, very large. We might have a mega campaign to tell the country that, hey, this is
you're here and
you have to basically benefit.
Not
that humongous spend.
I mean, like we were just talking outside, you've been very below the radar, but you've got some very high quality, coverage as well, over the times. And, I'd urge all of you, if you subscribe to, the Harvard Business Review, to go and read the HBR case study on DealShare. I think it's going to be taught at a lot of business schools, this season possibly. And it's really remarkable. Gives you a fantastic, and I don't think too many companies have achieved that at all, right? So let's, let's focus on that other one word that's in this topic, which is going vernacular, right? From day one, you have been, on your app, you've been English and Hindi. It's now local languages wherever you go. If you open the app here in Bangalore, you will see everything in English and Kannada. How integral has this been to the whole experience?
So we, one of the earlier thesis when we were building, so actually 4 months we spent only on building the thesis and researching before starting the transactions. So what clearly came out, and not just the language, but a lot of localization is required to win Indian retail or organize Indian retail, because India is a lot of countries within one country. There's so much diversity. So vernacular, actually, I don't say that it's vernacular because a lot of people have tried vernacular. We say that it is extremely localized, whether it is the assortment that you provide, whether it is the look and feel of the app that you provide in that state, or the language that you use, not just the language in terms of the script that you're using, but also the tonality. Our content writers are from that states, who are basically from middle income households, and they communicate like they're talking to their family members. That is where the connect starts building in. And we believe that
yeah, even the app is very different, like large icons, very clean, not too much clutter. You don't have to scroll up and down. You can check out in what, 1 step, 2 steps and pay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that again is from research, consumer research. So when we started researching these consumers who have heard of Amazon, Flipkart, all big platforms, all modern trade platforms, I think what they clearly said is that we are overwhelmed with the experience. We don't know how to use. So make it simple. And including our family members, everybody said that this is a stupid looking app. This will not work because they are used to all the complexities of the
right.
apps. We said that we'll hear the consumers every time. And that is why we based ourselves in. So all founders were in Jaipur, away from our wife and kids, and spent 2 years there to just understand in the locations as to how to build this business. So that's the learning we had.
Right, right. I mean, fantastic. I mean, the level of personalization, that you brought to the table, like you said, it's not just in communication, it's in the product mix, it's in the way the whole experience is presented and so on. I mean, I browsed through the app yesterday. I was pleasantly surprised at how, the experience was, having gone through all of the other ones in the past. All right. January this year, DealShare had a Series E. They've always had marquee investors throughout, Matrix from day one, Tiger along the way. Series E took them to becoming one of the unicorns of India, right? So, big congratulations on that. So how does life change now as a unicorn?
So life doesn't change actually. If you ask me, I think what we are focused on is, like I said, what are we? Value creation for the consumer and for your partners, which are suppliers and vendors. And you have to be continuously focused on that. Value creation for the organization or the employees in the organization is always an outcome of the good and deep-rooted problem solving that you do for the whole ecosystem. I think we have always done that, and we continue to do that. Even today, we do that every day. That is and that gives us joy, because that also lets us know ourselves that we are. We definitely believe that we are at just 1% of what we can achieve, because we still believe that it's an early stage company, whether it is a unicorn or not, or just that will happen. But building the solution is very important.
And you've never been a burn company, right? Your unit economics have always been positive, always been, you've always focused on that.
So starting from marketing, like you have already touched upon that multiple times. Also the operations, which is very efficient and we don't spend much. I think we focus from day one to build a model which is low burn. While we have raised a lot of capital in the last 5 rounds, majority of the capital is still with us. So we don't have a runway issue. We don't basically fear that someday the capital will dry out. We keep ourselves efficient, frugal, and then we massify the whole business.
Fantastic. So we have 12 minutes left. I think we'll leave the last minute or two for one closing remark, but over to the audience.
Thank you. My name is Anup Pandey. Sorry. It was a fascinating conversation, actually, and it was like a masterclass in social commerce and DealShare. And congratulations on your success. Let me say, in VC world, at least, there is a term called eating your own dog food. So are you all customers of DealShare or you use platform extensively for your own shopping?
Very good question. 100% of my grocery for my family, and my wife orders. I don't order that much. I don't get the time, but my wife orders. Everything in which is in this space, which is grocery and essentials, is bought from DealShare only. Everything.
Great. So that gives us incentive to try out DealShare for.
Yes, definitely you should try out. You might feel that the experience is very primitive, but it is built for middle income and lower income households who can use. Even a semi-literate person can use our app easily. That is how we have built it.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, this is Preeti Agarwal. I have never heard, to be very frank, I've never heard about DealShare. This is the first time I'm hearing it, but it was a very interesting session because I am also into e-commerce. Like we are into, even if this is something different which I'm talking about, we are into household products. Basically, you can say that it is a trading of new innovative products to the retail customers. It is not to the wholesalers or something. It is D2C business which you are dealing, and I have started it just 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago, and I've started with zero, as all of us do. But now I have catered in Bangalore 25 around buildings, customers. It's directly to customers. What you say that we don't have any brand. If you say, suppose I'm selling a stainer, suppose a tea stainer I'm selling, there's a no brand called any whatever brand, XYZ brand it is. But yes, we always think the customer should get satisfied and the brand automatically becomes. So this is a brand of ours. My firm name is Bandhan Innovative Solutions. So it itself has become a sort of brand because I came here. I was thinking, this is the first business meet ever I have attended. So I was thinking that, acha, koi nahi janta hoga mujhe. But there was a good lady, she asked me that, what are you doing? I think I am Bandhan Creation. Oh, acha, I've heard somewhere. So I think mera aana to safal ho gaya, at least itne logon mein.
Very good. I think you're doing great work.
Yeah.
That is what you should keep focusing
That's
on.
why this session was very
And you picked the
interesting
right summit to come to also,
Yeah, that's what.
isn't it?
That's what I said. Thank you.
My name is Aparna. I'm building a startup called Financial Literacy Campaign. We're building a product for financial literacy with the rural market, and we have a huge focus on women. So I understand the NBU segment a lot. What's fascinating about your story is you've quickly scaled to such a huge user base. If I'm right, it's been 4 years. So how did you achieve such scale in such short amount of time, especially for the NBU users? How did you succeed? What can you share about the operation side for a young startup like us? That would be my first question. And second is, I understand the value for the customer. Like when I buy, I get discounts. I love it. But how did you create value for the influencers? Like what was that model like? I'd like to understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. So quickly touching upon how to scale fast. I think it's a combination of your vision and the technique that you use. First of all, you should have that ambition to scale fast. Otherwise, you will not scale fast. So that has to be there as the biggest ingredient. And then you deploy methodologies which basically allow you to scale fast. In our case, we said that we'll use the social network of our customers to scale fast so that we get more and more consumers and spread wide, right? What was your second question? If you,
How do the influencers, the people who...
So we don't go for paid influencing again. So it is consumers only who are bringing consumers. So anything which is where we believe that the marketing ROI is not high, we stay away. And paid influencers, again, we believe that the marketing ROI for our model was not that.
I think the question also is, if I as a consumer refer this and other consumers buy, do I get incentivized?
Yes, so you get micro incentives, like small amounts for bringing new consumers, like 25, 30 rupees. You get some amounts for sharing, which will be very, very small, like 2, 3, 4, 5 rupees. But when you add for a large number of customers, you basically accumulate a lot of amount, and that you can use for repurchase on the platform itself. So that is additional saving for them.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, great question. Thank you. Anyone else? I think we have time for a couple of more questions. Yeah, sure. If there's nobody else, we'll go back to again.
I am a huge fan of Costco, which you talked about. They also have their own labels. So, and pardon my ignorance, is DealShare is going into or already have DealShare label or some other label which signifies that it is coming from DealShare?
Good question. So I think he also touched upon that a bit. We started with organizing the SMEs, the local manufacturers and all of them. Now we have started building the private label portfolio. So today, around 7% of our business or turnover comes from private labels, and we are quickly increasing that whole portion of business. We believe, like I said, in a full maturity, 50% of our turnover would come from private labels. That is how we look at the whole.
Okay, one last question, if anybody wants to either share something or ask Sourjyendu a question. Yeah, please go ahead, sir. Yeah, two more, sure.
Hello, sir. My name is Shivam. I'm from Gwalior, Madhya Pradesh, and we are building social media services for SMEs and early startups. I just wanted to know, since you started from Jaipur, so what are the key challenges that you faced in early 6 months, because it's been 3.5 years and you've already become a unicorn. So what were your key 3 priorities in early times, and early startups, like what should we focus most on in early days?
I think you should start from the location which is best for your business, whether it is a metro or a mid-tier city or a small city, doesn't matter. The focus should always be on basically taking up a challenge which is disruptive in nature, which is unique, where not many people are already building, and there's a huge opportunity. And the other focus should be keep trying. I think a lot of times people just stop trying while they have this belief that it can happen. But when hardships come, they stop trying. I think you should keep trying till the time you have solved the problem well.
Hello, sir. I'm Swati from ABBA School of Management. So I'm a student, and my father also runs a small retail shop. So the question of being like selective towards the private label and value creation towards the customer. So like in order to create a value, we need to standardize something, the value which we give to our customers. So we need to standardize, or else they won't regularly come to us, or like they won't get us. So the thing is, how do you select the private label suppliers for you as a standardized thing for your business?
So I think what we essentially what we do, and we will keep on doing, is going to the right supply sources and looking at basically products which are relevant for a lot of households, because that standardizes the product specifications. Then we basically look at those specifications which most of the households would buy, so that the massification can happen. We are not into one-time purchases, like I said, and hence that is also easier for us to curate. And I think that is the answer to your question. You have to keep standardizing specifications, which applies for a lot of households.
All right. So, okay, one last question, gentlemen there, then we'll close it with that. We're exactly on time.
It's quite an interesting model that you have created. Congratulations to you, and making such a progress in 3.5 years time. It is phenomenal. My question is that when you are selecting your key suppliers for your company, is there any kind of agreement they will be supplying only to your company, or is it that they are open to supply other e-commerce platforms also?
We don't bind by any agreement, but what we believe is that all business partnerships should be meaningful. We believe in creating a lot of demand for that supply and keeping them busy so that it becomes unique supply to us.
Right. So don't you feel that at sometimes it could be a point where some deflection can happen to your key suppliers by major players?
I think it is important to keep creating strength in your own business model, where the business partners' dependence starts happening because you are giving so much demand that they are not looking in and around it. You cannot bind through agreements such things. You have to basically make the model so interesting that the partners are ready to participate with you as unique partners.
Right. Thank you. And you believe that this is scalable to large cities, large states here in India?
We operate in all tiers of cities and towns. We are present in mega cities like Bombay, Bangalore, NCR, also going to small towns like 20,000 odd population. But it is scalable across all tiers of population, all tiers of cities.
Thank you so much.
All right. So on that note, there are companies in the online space. Pretty much every company is betting on emerging behaviors, right? People are already online. They will buy, they will buy fashion. They will buy this. They will buy that. DealShare is a company that is essentially taking a bet on people even cultivating the behavior to get to emerging behaviors, right? So they're doing that 2 steps behind, doing this mass, delivering value, and if I may say, creating significant societal impact beyond the value of the commerce that they're doing. I think it's a great journey. It's only the beginning, like Medda said. Becoming unicorn was a milestone for them, but there's a long way to go. And I think you can all join me in giving him a big round of applause and wishing them all the very best in this journey. Thank you so much for your time and for your fascinating insights.